Okay, can people on Twitch hear me? Can you hear me here? Where I'm pointing? Is it working? Yes? Okay, good. Okay, good. Because I was having some drama with the camera earlier. Okay. I'm recruiting. We're doing recruiting. Yay. Yay. I kind of feel like my camera should be mirrored or something. I don't know. Yeah, join. Do you have to be nice when talking about Hassan on Twitch? I don't know anything about Hassan, so I'm so sorry. I've never watched any Hassan streams. I can't give you an opinion on that. It would be unqualified. So that's not, I'm so sorry. If you want spicy influencer drama, I can only talk about Aspen. Bisco Witch is in. Yay. Everybody's over there. Okay, so Madeline Pendleton over there too. Are you going? Are you seeing each other? It's meta. It's very meta, right? Oh yeah, is Virgo getting married this weekend? Yeah, we have done some stuff about Minnesota as well, but not recently. Yay! Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. All right. We're going. I'm going here. I'm not going to be here anymore. I'm going to be only over there. Okay, bye. Okay, hi. Virgo, thank you for stopping in for a few minutes, even though you're getting married. And I cannot wait for us to see wedding pictures. It's going to be so exciting. 8 days out. Wow. So soon. 8 days. Yay. I love love. It's going to be great. You're in your wedding outfit? What is it? What do you get to wear? What's your outfit going to look like? Ooh, exciting. Oh, okay, share it. Yes. Yes. Guys, I did a little prep work on Syria this morning while laying in bed. You've been still for over 2 hours today. I'm proud of you. So I did this for you guys because I felt like we wanted to talk about Syria. And by that, I mean I just Googled what the two biggest Marxist-Leninist orgs had written about Syria, and it looked pretty good. So I'm going to pull that up for us to get a good little overview and do it fast. And I saw that there was some stuff in the news as well. Are you guys talking about people's signs? I also have this weird Marxist trot take. Okay. I think seeing Trump backing down on Greenland due to the market response and losing money really highlighted what we were saying about imperialism being an extension of capital. Yes, it was the markets leading it, not any ideological belief. Exactly. Yeah. That's how it goes. And really, so the militaristic element of imperialism is backing up a financial goal, always, at the end of the day. Okay. Oh, okay. I saw this actually. You said this in the TikTok chat. As a socialist, you're confused about socialism in East Europe because your family grew up in it and they always say it was terrible. So your family might just not have liked it. They also might have ended up in one of the countries where people didn't like it. So what we know about socialism is that most people, most places preferred it. But that's not everyone and it's not everywhere, right? So I'm going to show you some info that might be interesting to you depending on where your family's from. So just a sec. All right. So here's my screen. Oh, my camera's not working. Hold on. Oh, I gotta get this camera working. Ooh. Whoa. It connected to my phone. And my phone is like just staring at the ceiling on my desk. Okay. There we go. Yeah, so here we go. So over here, I have some info that I usually show people that we talk about that's interesting. Sorry, I'm trying to hide my notes because I share some notes with people, so I don't want their private info to be out. But what we look at is what older people have to say more than younger people. I like this 2009 poll here. Ages 65 and older at the time of the poll were old enough to have spent 20 years under communism and 20 years under capitalism. And you can see in this column the percent of people that approved to a change to a multi-party system, right? And to a market economy. So basically to capitalism politically and to capitalism economically. And you can see most of these places, very few people approve of the change, right? Bulgaria, only 37% of people old enough to have experienced both said moving to a multi-party system was better. In Ukraine, it was only 20%. In Lithuania, it was 43%, and Hungary was 45%. So this is the number we want to look at. And it just kind of, it depends. Yeah, it depends on what they had going on before the revolution. It depends on where they lived. It depends on a lot of places, too, what level of propaganda they got from Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty. You can see direct correlations to these numbers with the focused areas of Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty broadcasting from the United States, trying to convince everybody that communism was bad. It's hard to read on mobile because it's quite small. I know. I'm so sorry. I also, can't zoom in on notes apps. But it is, let me see if I can, just get you guys the link to this study so you can look at it on your own. This is the source on it. It's Pew Research from 2009, and there's a lot of different data in here, and it is a multi-page thing. Look at all these pages down here. So I'll share this link with you all. It's quite good, and you can look it up on your own at your leisure. I recommend you do. It's very, very interesting. MRPTX9XB. So this is the link right here. I'll pin it for the study. You're joining an org. Yay! Ruben, exciting. Congratulations. So yeah. That is that. Yeah, lying. Westerners are lying. Shocking, I know. Orgs are banned in your county. A county or country? Are you the person from the Philippines that was talking to us on TikTok? It's very interesting. Yeah, book club would be good. Start with the book club. The lizard angel Bethers. Oh, I'm obsessed. Frog angel, my bad. Obsessed. So good. Oh, interesting. You're writing a paper for class on women Soviet composers and the impacts of socialism on music composition. That's so interesting. Okay, we're doing a stretch. Okay, so I figured we'll talk about Syria today. How many people are in here? Do we have people in here? Are we ready to go? Do I need to yell at people more on TikTok? We got 2 hydrates? This outfit's so good. It's so nice. Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed. Wow. Why do we have the best mods? We're very, very lucky. Amazing. See, so all the communists are hot and cool and fun. So maybe next time somebody's like, communism, I hate it. Be like... Why would you hate being hot and cool and fun? Because we're killing it. All of us are killing it. This is so good. I love this. Oh, amazing. Yeah, that's Virgo. Wedding fit. Oh, so good. Love. It's so true. Capitalists can't develop good personal style. I believe it. I believe it to be true. Okay. All right, so we're obsessed. This is great. Virgo's only here for a few minutes for understandable reasons. Okay. Okay. Bye. Get out of here. Do your thing. All right, you guys all have the link to this so you can learn about general sentiments. Be sure to look at the older people who are actually old enough to have experienced both. Yeah, that was Virgo. Virgo pops. Yeah. So let's talk about the news today. Should we do that? Should we talk about the news? That's okay. You can come in and out of the chat. That's fine. We're here when you're ready. When you leave, we won't cry. It's so great. So let's see. U.S. is starting to move ISIS detainees from Syria to Iraq. And this feels like something for us to look at that'll be interesting. And 20 minutes ago, we actually had an update that Iraq said it would prosecute Islamic State detainees sent from Syria. So here's what I think we should do. Before we get into the news today, I kind of feel like we should read a little bit of background on this so that we have the background before we get into the current events. We'll do, this kind of thing first. And then I'm going to try to keep it fast-ish so we can squeeze in a foreign or another thing. Sorry, this is foreign, but I guess like a domestic thing or something else. Just one more thing. Because it seems like we've only had time to get through one thing every single day, which is fine. I don't mind it. But, it's up to you guys. So, let's begin. I have an FRSO piece, and Liberation News is from PSL. So these are the two biggest Marxist-Leninist orgs we have in the United States. If you don't have local Marxist-Leninist orgs, odds are you'll be in one of these two orgs if you're in an org. And we're going to see what they have to say about what happened in Syria in December. Because a lot was happening in December, and I feel like a lot of people kind of missed it. Bay Guevara, I'm usually on for 2 hours. So till 11 a.m.-ish, my time here, Pacific Standard, usually. Also, hi. Okay, so over here on FRSO, they say, the fall of the Syrian government and what it means for the anti-imperialist struggle in the Middle East. And this was, again, published in December. So the Freedom Room Socialist Organization, that's FRSO, condemns its ongoing U.S.-backed aggression against Syria. President Bashar al-Assad has been forced to flee the country and now sits in exile in Moscow. What is clear is that the Syrian government has collapsed. This blatant assault on Syrian sovereignty is part of a larger effort by Western imperialist Israel and reactionary forces in the region to defeat the axis of resistance, which is fighting for the liberation of Palestine and to end U.S. control in the region. Is that better? I think that's better, right? It's still catching a little shine, but not so bad. Okay, that's better. Sorry. It was smudged. Everything in my life is covered in grease. I don't know what to tell you. Okay. So, Syria stood as a staunch ally to the people of Lebanon and Palestine, providing political and military support. Worth mentioning, Iran as well. So people have been asking a lot of questions about Syria right now because of what we've seen happening in Iran, right? And the two are very connected. The loss of Syria as a sovereign, independent state not only hurts the Syrian people, but also weakens the resistance forces against Israel in this region. The destabilization of Syria is another step towards widening the war in the Middle East. Israel and the hawks in the incoming Trump administration are clear that they plan to ramp up hostility towards Iran. History shows that U.S. involvement does more to set sovereign nations back in time than forward. The U.S. carried out decades of aggression against the Syrian government, supposedly in support of democracy, but this is a lie. And that's one that's been used before. In Libya, which once boasted the highest standard of living in Africa, U.S. and NATO intervention reduced the country to chaos, undoing decades of development and progress. These actions serve as grim reminders of what imperialist intervention truly entails. And obviously what we're talking about here with Libya was under Gaddafi, who was a Pan-Africanist, the Obama administration with Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State, and backed a NATO intervention, I guess is the nice way to say it, in Libya, overthrew the government there, and the world watched in horror as Gaddafi was sexually assaulted to death on camera. Why is the thumbs up now? Don't thumbs up that. Jesus. Oh, okay. So that's what's going on, that they're comparing it here too. And Libya, maybe not perfect what place is, but after we destroyed Libya's government, Libya collapsed. Like open-air slave markets returned to Libya. Mass issues with sexual assault of women and girls were plaguing Libya. I mean, Libya really became hell after we destroyed their government. Assad, some people will tell you Assad was a socialist. Some people will tell you that he's more of a pan-Arabist. Some people will tell you, Trotz will tell you he was the devil himself. I think that we'll read what FRSO and PSL both have to say about it. The idea really is that, look, these guys aren't the big bads that we make them out to be. They're not perfect, but we shouldn't expect perfection of people, right? And when having conversations about whether it's justified or not for us to overthrow their governments. Like, every government is imperfect and flawed. And al-Bashir did some socialist policies, just like Gaddafi did some socialist policies. And those policies being enacted is what challenges and disturbs the United States. And that's why they get overthrown. So they're socialist enough, right, for the United States to hate them. Are they perfect socialists? That you know, probably not, according to most of our ideologies. They're not expressed Marxist-Leninists, right? But, you know, I try not to get into the weeds too much about that. Like, how evil was this man? How good was this man, right? Because we know that for whatever the case, they're implementing policies that feel socialist enough to the United States to make them a target of our foreign policy. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah. In case, oh yeah, Virgo, you can buy a human slave for $400 in Libya. Like, it is bad what we did there. We destroyed it. We got Hillary Clinton in the chat? Who? Are they gone? I can't see them. Hillary Clinton and a trot in the chat. Okay, yay, fun. Wee. I hate you, dinosaur. They're an anarchist and they fall for Western liberal propaganda. I used to be friends with them. Oh, okay, cool. Yay, they can stick around. We have a new Freya. We have a new Nick. I can never do it when I want. It only does it out of nowhere. I don't know. Okay, all right. So, I know, it's horrible. I do not thumbs up that happening to coffee. That was horrible. Awful, awful, awful. Nixon? I am not a crook. Okay. Wait. The same guy who got mad at me for not liking Minnesota sexually assaulted multiple women in a bar? All of my enemies are falling. All of my enemies are falling right now. Not to be petty on the internet. What the fuck? That's wild. I will say my presence has always upset a certain type of person who ends up being evil. And that's not because I think I'm the antithesis of evil. Just something about me specifically annoys evil people. It's like everything they hate. It's like Valley Girl accent, weird dyed hair, too confident, won't back down from a fight even though I know I'm going to lose. Aggressively feminine, too much makeup. Like, they hate it. They hate it. So I think that the people who come for me the most on the internet are that specific group of people who are very, very put off by those elements of just me. And they're evil people. It's wild. Jordan, wow. Off Jawagon. I remember him. Whoa. That, and now CJ's white friend rapping using the N-word. Did you guys see that? Have you seen that one? Yeah, CJ's white friend being like, yeah, CJ's white friend is a rapper named Kasky. And he, as this rapper who like uses the N-word and made a whole song about how it was like bad that like, one of the lines is something about like, oh, you can call me a cracker, but I can't call you the N-word. I'm like, what? Yeah, it's wild. Child of the Reach was the actual ideology of Bobby Vakin's party. They say they're Marxist-Leninists. They do say they're Marxist-Leninists. Yeah. Anyway, so all of my enemies, Aspen, ICE apologist. We knew that though. Anybody with half a brain cell knew that. We knew that. Cole, also N-word controversy. Elizabeth Booker Houston, paid asset of the Democratic Party, confirmed. Off Jawagon, rapist, serial rapist. I mean, it's not even fun to delight in how evil these people are, right? Like, this is like brutal. Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. So then I said that I was going to have to fight CJ's white friend in a Walmart parking lot because we're both the same level of white trash. And that's what I would do in Fresno if I heard that happen. So I was like, I'm going to have to fight him in a Walmart parking lot. I know my roots. Like, let's go. This is what we do to white boys who use the N-word. Yeah. Not CJ on Substack. CJ on Substack's great. CJ on Substack, we love her. CJ on Substack, we like. Yeah. Somebody told, so the ICE thing with Aspen's unconfirmed because I have her blocked, but multiple people have told me that she came out in favor of ICE. And I'm like, well, obviously she got her education and her first internship was from the Department of Homeland Security, which is who oversees ICE. So like, of course. And that's what I tried to say, where I was like, do not listen to what this woman is telling you about North Korea. She's like an asset of the federal government. And we know that ICE is there to enact our foreign policy domestically, right? So whoever foreign policy wise our government decides is an enemy, ICE will treat them as an enemy at home as well. Like, it's connected. So like when ICE was created after 9/11, the United States decided like just Arab people generally were our enemies abroad, and we started doing the war on terror against Arab people. Here at home, ICE was hunting down Arab people in the streets. We had as many deaths in ICE custody in 2005 while they were doing that as we did last year under ICE custody as well. So same level of fervent horror. And that's what they're designed to do, you know? So you saw that. Donald Trump was like, Venezuela's our political enemy. All of a sudden, ICE is hunting down Venezuelan immigrants in our borders. So the idea that somebody who had their training from the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees ICE, right, who had an internship working at the Department of Homeland Security would be telling you bad things about our political enemy. It's like, of course, they're connected. That's what they do. Oh, yeah, the CJ thing, a mad scene. Yeah, he made videos going after liberalism, and they were very, very good. And then he started trying to come after other leftists, and it was bad. He didn't have the content to back it up. And this is what I always tell people, and I try not to be judgmental about anarchists too much, but here's what I tell people. Being an anarchist will make you dumber than you are. It just will, by necessity, because the socialist and communist projects around the world actually did so much good that if you want to talk shit on them and say bad things about them, you have to consume misinformation. There's just not enough. When you look at the actual things that were bad, you're like, well, this thing happened. It wasn't great. You know, we understand it in the context of this. It's not sensational. It's not enough to make you hate a whole country or hate a whole movement. So you have to start consuming misinformation and disinformation about communism to dunk on communism. And that's why anarchists end up in bad faith, weird, kind of conflict all the time. They end up quoting the State Department because at the end of the day, if you're looking for reasons to dunk on communism, all that you have is the State Department, right? And that's what CJ unfortunately ended up doing. And he got busted for using some State Department sources as an anarchist to dunk on communists, and everyone just kind of started losing respect for him after that. Yeah, he cited AFRICOM, exactly. Yeah, so this is a problem with anarchism, right? And the reason I stopped being an anarchist, I was like, oh, okay, well, I need to be really diligent and stop using these Fed-funded sources. And then I was like, wait, now I can't find anything. Oh, fuck. And that's what happens. He groped like 3 or 4 girls in the same night? Wow. Yeah, CJ was going off about China being imperialist. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's anarchist stuff. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Bad sourcing. So we don't love that. There are a lot of CJs on TikTok. Super Camper Ninja, first person. Hi, Violet Blossoms. Hello. So let's get back to talking about Syria. Sorry, but that's wild. Off to wagon. Okay, so, and all of my enemies fall. Marxist-Leninists stay winning. If you want to be on the winning team, Marxist-Leninists stay winning. Why? Because we do analysis, right? He doesn't remember, but he believes King. What the fuck? I know, real life TikTok leftists. Okay. So, Dorian Sapiens coming in with the win on that one. Okay. All right, we're going to go back talking about Syria. I swear, we're going to be on top of it today. We're not going to be petty all day. Just a little, we can be a little petty as a treat once in a while. You got to keep it fun, you know? So, all right, so going in, one of the reasons why I try not to get too bogged down in how Marxistly pure a leader of another country is that is being victimized by American imperialism is because I don't want that to be the focus. Because I don't want to set the precedent that, like, if the leader is that bad, then it's okay to overthrow them. Because my belief is that it is never okay for the United States to overthrow another country's government. We are not capable of providing liberation to anybody, right? So that's really the focus I want to stick on. I miss Millennial Chaos too. History shows, and this is what the FRSO article says, history shows that U.S. involvement does more to set sovereign nations back in time than forward. And this is really, I think, the main point. The U.S. carried out decades of aggression against the Syrian government, supposedly in support of democracy, but this is a lie, and one that's been used before. In Libya, which once boasted the highest standard of living in Africa, U.S. NATO intervention reduced the country to chaos, undoing decades of development and progress. These actions serve as a grim reminder of what imperialist intervention truly entails. At the same time, Israel, which already occupied Syria in the Golan Heights region, continues its attempts to annex more of Syria while expanding illegal settlements and seizing Palestinian land. And you guys know about the Greater Israel plan, I'm sure. Israel has a plan for this greater vision of itself that's larger, that's expanded borders, that fits into all of this. Just recently, Israel breached Syria's borders for the first time in 50 years. This is an act of aggression that makes plain Israel's ambitions to expand and its role as a tool of U.S. imperialism in the region. These incursions are part of a broader strategy to weaken and destabilize Syria while further entrenching the Zionist occupation. For the last 10 years, the U.S. has bombed Syria many times and has had troops there for most of this period. The aggression against Syria has taken on other forms, from oppressive sanctions that harm ordinary Syrians to the arming and financing of anti-government groups that have consistently been revealed to be proxies for U.S. and allied interests. The so-called freedom fighters will not bring liberation to Syria, but rather U.S. weapons, massacres, and economic devastation. We reject all U.S. support for these expansionist policies and condemn Israel's ongoing attempts to seize more land. The U.S.'s backing of Israeli apartheid and illegal settlements not only violates international law, but also perpetuates the suffering of Palestinians, Syrians, and the region as a whole. U.S. troops and U.S.-backed forces have no legitimate role in Syria. We call for the immediate withdrawal of all U.S. troops from Syria and an end to U.S. support of anti-government forces. We also demand an end to the sanctions in Syria, which devastate ordinary people while advancing U.S. imperialist goals. We demand an end to U.S. military aid to Israel and condemn its illegal settlements and annexations and genocidal occupation of Palestine. We condemn those responsible for the destabilization of the Syrian government, and we reaffirm our solidarity with the Palestinian resistance and its allies, Lebanon, Iran, Yemen, and Iraq. Okay, so this is what was going on under Joe Biden. This was in December of 2024. Sorry, I wasn't sure if I was clear about that before. So December of 2024 is when this is written. So this is around a year ago. What was happening? Right? Hydrate. I will hydrate. Thank you all. So basically more of the same shit, right? Israel wants to expand. The United States wants to help them because Israel's our ally in the region. There's an axis of resistance that has existed, pushing back against Israel and by proxy the United States in the region. And the United States just looks like we're coming for all of them. We're just like, we're going to take you out. We're going to take you down. Now, we have another article written from a year ago as well when this was all happening. This is from PSL. So their newspaper here we've got pulled up. It's going to be probably the same thing, but just to show you this isn't just FRSO. Like, this is like pretty much any Marxist-Leninist org is going to have the same take on this right now. So they're saying the overthrow of the Syrian government in a lightning offensive by rebel groups will certainly reorganize the politics of the Middle East in profound ways and with major global implications. For decades, the U.S. government has tried to control the region through brutal violence, and the Israeli regime is actively waging a war spanning multiple countries as an extension of their genocide in Gaza. Their reactions to the unfolding developments is a crucial indicator about the meaning of recent events. Both Biden and Netanyahu have claimed credit for the success of the rebel fighters. So basically, rebel fighters in Syria were like, we're overthrowing the government. That's what had happened. And Biden and Netanyahu were both like, we did that. Yay. Hey, what's up? And they were being led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. And that's often abbreviated as HTS. HTS originated as Al-Qaeda's affiliate in Syria, but officially broke ties in 2016 in a move that was supported by the international leadership of Al-Qaeda. Almost 200 watching now. Yay. Okay, hi, welcome. We're talking about Syria, everyone. As Damascus fell, Netanyahu said, this is a historic day in the history of the Middle East. Calling the Assad government, quote, a central link in Iran's axis of evil. Axis of evil is old school, man. If you guys don't remember, this is some shit George W. Bush used to say. He was talking about the axis of evil all the time. Axis of evil is pretty much anyone who won't let the United States trample on them and fuck up their shit, right? So he argued the overthrow of the government is a direct result of the blows we've inflicted on Iran and Hezbollah for the main supporters of the Assad regime. Again, these are all also the people backing Palestine against Israel. Biden said in a White House address, neither Russia nor Iran nor Hezbollah could defend this abhorrent regime in Syria. And this is the direct result of the blows that Ukraine, Israel have delivered upon their own self-defense with unflagging support of the United States. So also Ukraine getting thrown in there. You're going to start to notice a lot if you're still not sure about what's going on with Ukraine. They show up neck and neck with Israel a lot in these conversations. Axis of Evil, I think, was a George W. Bush thing. A mad scene when you were 5, you thought the Axis of Evil would kidnap you from your bed. You know what's funny is like, I was younger, you know, but not that young. I was like 13, so I was like a punk kid. I was just like, that's some fucking bullshit, you know. I think George W. Bush probably stopped me from being an anarchist for too long. But Bisco, which, yeah, Ukraine, Israel. Exactly. And this is when we look at, you know, Ukraine being like, we want to be a big Israel in the region. And then we look at how it's Israeli billionaires that funded Zelensky, that even funded the neo-Nazi groups, the Azov Battalion and all of that. It's a whole mess, right? It becomes clear what our agenda is. Welcome, Fleckies. We are talking about Syria today. So, Israeli troops... Oh, Cercito, I've probably said this before, where radicalized me into becoming Marxist. So, 9/11 happened, and I had already been listening to, like, punk music and stuff like that. And then something hit the news where everybody was like, oh my God, Okay, so I'll start at the beginning. 9/11 happened when I was a sophomore in high school. I'd already been involved in the punk scene. I'd already considered myself kind of an anarchist. I'd read like the Communist Manifesto, and I'd read a lot of Emma Goldman. I really liked Emma Goldman. I don't know. So then 9/11 happened, and everything on the news was like, oh my God, the lead singer of this band, System of a Down, has posted something on the System of a Down website that the federal government is investigating, and they're about to take it down. And I was like, I gotta go see this. Like, what? So I went and looked at it, and the singer for System of a Down wrote something that was basically like, 9/11 is the result of like decades of American foreign policy, and broke it all down. And I was like, oh, this makes sense. Yeah. And when 9/11 had happened, I remember my mom called me and was like, turn on the news, because I was at home. I was like skipping class or something. And I turned on the news, and I had my mom on the phone, and I was like watching, and plane 1 had just flown into Tower 1 or whatever. You know, that was all that had happened. And I was like, well, what did we expect? And my mom was so mad, and she was just like, fuck you, Madeline, and like hung up. But I just remember looking at it being like, well, fucking of course. Like, what do we think? We get to go blow up other countries around the world, and nobody's ever going to try it back? Like, of course they're going to try it back. Like, what? So this is what kind of was going on at the time. And after that, I got really involved in the anti-war movement, right? So that's what I really started to do. And I think I would have called myself an anarcho-communist from my reading, but I wasn't like fully a Marxist, which is funny because David, podcast co-host David, he was a Marxist. And I was always like, no, don't tell me what to do. Like typical bratty fucking anarchist teenager. But basically what happened is that I kept realizing that everything bad I had thought about Marxist places, about the USSR in particular, right, mostly the USSR, had been lies created by the State Department. And I reached a point where I was like, I can't in good conscience do this. And then the other thing that was starting to happen a lot is listening to people who are disabled and just being like, wait, deregulation's bad. We know deregulation's bad. When Ronald Reagan deregulated everything, it was bad. So what makes me think that a completely deregulated system is somehow just going to magically work on its own based off vibes? Like, no, this doesn't fucking make sense, right? So listening to disabled people talk about their need for things like insulin regularly, etc., and being like, well, there has to be regulatory measures in a bureaucratic and hierarchical way that ensure that your medication is being made safely and consistently. You know, so it really started to fall apart, and that's when I was like, you know what, I'm dropping the fucking anarcho. I'm just a communist, that's it. And I considered myself for a long time a non-denominational communist, because I was like, well, the conditions for revolution make it so that everything's different everywhere. What works for everybody is different, and I'm just going to support any communist kind of place. Any place trying to do communism, I'm just in. I'm just supporting it. I don't care what kind it is. It needs to be different everywhere. That's fine. But that was also because I was part of an org at that time that was a non-denominational org. It was just a Marxist org, like an orthodox Marxist org or something like that. And then I finally got sick of that too. And so that's when I was just like, fuck it, I'm switching orgs and I'm going full blown. I'm going all in on Marxist-Leninism, if that makes sense. Yeah, so that's kind of how that went for me. Sorry. So I would say that I started off just punk rock made me an anarchist, an anarcho-communist, right? And then 9/11 made me really start to think about foreign policy in a major way. And that ultimately influenced and shaped me learning a lot about other countries in the world and realizing that the narratives as an anarchist I had been fed about other countries were wrong. They whipped us into pro-war monsters. Yeah, they canceled the Dixie Chicks. They canceled the Dixie Chicks. Yep. Yeah. They made everybody insane. Yeah. Very interesting. So, all right, we're going to get back into this about Syria. So Israeli troops invaded part of Syria immediately following the demise of the government. Most of a region of southern Syria called the Golan Heights, as we talked about, had been occupied by Israel since 1967. There's a UN-supervised buffer zone in between the Israeli-occupied portion and the part still controlled by Syria. Israeli forces have now entered that buffer zone, and they may move in further. The Israeli Air Force carried out over 100 strikes in Syria on December 8th, again of 2024 under Biden, and continued airstrikes the following day. Hitting key military installations in an attempt to further reduce the country's ability to defend itself. And this was Israel doing this, but remember, Biden and Netanyahu were both like, we helped overthrow the Syrian government, yay. There is a current in the Israeli establishment that is highly concerned about how the situation might develop. There's a great deal of uncertainty about the future shape of a new Syrian government and how it will relate to other powers and movements in the region. Although it remained technically in a state of war with Israel and provided key supply routes for resistance fighters, the Assad government was so weak that it never responded as Israel bombed the country routinely for years, starting in 2013. The various Palestinian resistance organizations held different relationships with the now ousted Syrian government and have had a range of reactions to Assad's overthrow, but they are united in their condemnation of Israel's attacks on Syria amid the upheaval. How the new government will orient towards Israel is a crucial element to watch, determining whether or not the Syrian state remains a supporter of Palestinian liberation. In a December 6th interview with Times of Israel, a commander in the Free Syrian Army, which is a rebel force that's smaller than the HTS but still influential, said that if they succeeded, the opposition will go for full peace with Israel and we will live side by side as neighbors. Declining to comment on whether or not he's in contact with Israeli officials, the commander did say that the rebels, quote, are thankful to Israel for its strikes against Hezbollah and against the Iranian infrastructure in Syria. So we can pretty much guess that they're funded and backed by Israel, pretty obviously, right? Now, the editor-in-chief of the prominent Lebanese newspaper Al Akhbar wrote in an editorial, the possibility that America will lift sanctions on Syria and allow Arab countries to invest in it again will not please those Syrians who believe they have revolted for their civil rights. To secure sanctions relief, he argues, Syria must actually give up the Palestinian issue, not just in words. America will not take any steps unless it is sure that the new government will announce Syria's withdrawal from the Arab-Israeli conflict first, and then join the coalition confronting Iran and the resistance allies in Lebanon and Palestine. Which I think is true, right? He's just like, look, this is about Palestine. You got to drop the Palestine thing. You basically, if you live in Syria, you are trading your safety and your life and your security now for the lives of Palestinians. And you have to be prepared to make that transaction or nothing's going to get better for you. And that's really what he's saying here, which I think is very powerful. So the situation inside of Syria is highly complex. Again, this is older, so this is from a year ago, and constantly changing as a new government takes shape. Some facts are clear, but despite a great deal of speculation, there is no way to discern with certainty what maneuvers took place behind the scenes in the final days of Assad's government. After Assad fled the country, he ordered his prime minister to organize an orderly transfer of power, and HTS leader Mohammed al-Jilani commanded his fighters to allow government institutions to continue to function as the transition takes place. HTS has chosen Mohammed al-Bashir to take over as prime minister in the coming days. Al-Bashir was the leader of the HTS-dominated government in Idlib province before the breakout offensive, which imposed a conservative religious form of government. It remains to be seen if other opposition factions will accept his authority or join his government. There is still fighting taking place across the country between different armed groups. Much of northern and eastern Syria is controlled by a U.S.-backed group called the Syrian Democratic Forces, which has at its core the Kurdish YPG party and militia. Hundreds of troops and likely many more mercenaries are based in SDF-controlled territory, mainly tasked with controlling oil fields. SDF forces seized the key cities, from government forces, an armed group called the Syrian National Army that's backed by the Turkish government, who's the sworn enemy of the YPG and the SDF, captured the strategically important town of Manjib. So basically just a civil war happens. And this is what we see happen. When we topple a government, there's a civil war, there's a power vacuum, and a lot of different forces are vying for control. If Iran falls to the United States, this is Marxist Gamer Zero, and so does Russia, Would the world just belong to the USA since China does not meddle in foreign affairs? I mean, yeah, probably. And that's why when we say we support these countries that we know don't have our ideal internal leadership, Russia, Iran, but we recognize they provide the necessary counterbalance to the United States on the world stage. That's what we're talking about. And that's what we mean. Marxist-Leninism is a very practical ideology. It's a very rational ideology. It's not one of utopianism. It's not one of idealism. And we look at these places like Iran in particular, you know, we're like, it's not ideal. But what does it mean to not have Iran in the region? What does that mean for Palestinians? What does that mean for the world? And then we start to see, what does it mean for Greenland? What does it mean for Venezuela, right? When the United States is emboldened and it's like, oh, we can just take whatever we want. Nobody's going to stop us. You know, I think it's interesting. Okay, so getting back into this. Okay, so we've got civil war, we've got infighting going on, et cetera, et cetera. In the first phase of the war, over 100,000 Syrians fought and died to prevent the overthrow of the government by the rebels. But the willingness to fight had clearly evaporated, and there was little appetite for intervention among Syria's allies if there was not a functional national army to support. Where once the threat of sectarian oppression and massacres motivated people to take up arms in defense of the state, the deep impoverishment and breakdown of basic services that characterized recent years had made people more accepting of any alternative that could end the misery. And this, I think, is really important. Why do we impose sanctions upon our political enemies? It is to strangle them. It is to strangle them. It is to cut them off from resources, from food, etc. It's also to demoralize their people. It's also to make their people skeptical of their government's ability to manage. It's also to do this, to break them down, so that by the time you go in with the ground invasion, you go in with the bombings, people are like, what is there left here to defend, right? We have nothing. We can't eat. Everything's falling apart. Infrastructure is destroyed. We're economically devastated. What is left to defend? And that is why sanctions are such a part of our hybrid warfare attempts, right? Oh, I just saw hydrate, sorry. I agree with what Virgo said, actually. I just saw this about Pakistan, India, China. I don't think China is explicitly non-interventionist, but I think it would have to be pretty extreme. Yeah. So, all right. Given the extremely rapid pace with which the Assad government collapsed, there's naturally suspicion that there were hidden deals and arrangements that played a role. Russia maintains a significant military presence in the country, and the intervention of the Russian Air Force was decisive in preserving the government in an earlier phase of the war. So this is what we mean too. Russia does have a tendency to show up and be like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, we are standing up for these countries. And the intervention of the Russian Air Force, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we said that. It's unclear why Russian intelligence failed to provide advance warning of the HTS offensive, and Russia's military did not intervene in a significant way against the rebels as they marched towards Damascus. So I have a feeling that Russia is very willing to negotiate with the West. And it's not, I don't think that's good necessarily, but it is true. I think they are, and the West just doesn't negotiate with them. So the thing that happened in Venezuela recently, for example, I was like, I could speculate that that was part of the peace deal arrangements with Ukraine. The idea that Russia would not intervene in Venezuela, you know? So, the day before Assad fled the country, the foreign ministers of Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Egypt, Iraq, Iran, Turkey, and Russia held a summit and issued a joint declaration urging negotiations between the Syrian government and opposition to find a political solution to the Syrian crisis. A mad scene, this question. Marxist-Leninists feel about the 3.5% rule. Is it compatible with Marxism and mean that revolutionary change could be easier? Or is it just a myth to make us feel like we have control over government? Most Marxist-Leninists I know actually do agree with that, but they put it more at like 5%-ish, and they say that you need more broad-based support, though. You need like 10% of the population to like support you, basically. So it's got to be a little bit more, even if they're not actively involved. That is what I usually hear from Marxist-Leninists, though. I'm not sure if that's like a set thing, but that's just what I hear casually Marxist-Leninists say. So, all right. Syria is subjected to an illegal occupation by U.S. troops. This is in December. Against the wishes of the sovereign government, the Obama administration deployed thousands of troops to northeastern Syria. Although less populated than other regions, this part of the country is vast, and the location of the country's oil fields. U.S. soldiers and private mercenaries are concentrated near these oil fields. So the United States is there like, we're protecting our oil here in Syria while you do regime change, Israel. Go off, bestie. Another part of Syria, Al-Tanf, is controlled by U.S.-backed rebels. There is a U.S. military base in Al-Tanf, which is strategically located near the border with Jordan and the border with Iraq. And we're also funding then our own team of Not Our Guys, as usual. Okay, Virgo, bye. Thank you. The U.S. government claims its occupation of Syria is aimed at fighting ISIS, but what actually defeated ISIS was the joint efforts of the Syrian army, Iraqi resistance fighters, Hezbollah, Iran, and Russia. And in fact, it was the U.S. invasion of Iraq that set in motion the chain of events that led to the rise of ISIS in the first place. The true purpose of the U.S. military presence is to maintain a foothold that can be used to exert imperial power in the region and bolster the control of their SDF allies. So I think this is a really important kind of thing for us to know, right? So U.S. occupied Syria, U.S. and Israel backed regime change. There was a small civil war that broke out as different factions vied for power, some backed by Israel, some backed by the United States. And ISIS was defeated by Syria, by Iraq, by Hezbollah, by Iran, by Russia. The United States doesn't actually care about fighting ISIS. We care about protecting oil and seizing control of their land and helping the expansion of Israel in the region. And we actually helped create ISIS to begin with. So that's really the key takeaway from this, I think. And PSL calls for the military occupation of Syria to come to an end, all U.S. bases being dismantled, all troops and mercenaries brought home, and the Israeli regime with its U.S.-supplied arsenal stopping its bombing campaign against Syria and the further invasion of the Golan Heights. The Israeli annexation and occupation of the Golan Heights must end. So that was it. Now, we got a Trot paper on it. I don't want to read the Trot paper, though. I don't think we need to. It's already 10. So let's get into current news. So we have this current news. This was 27 minutes ago that this was updated. So Iraq says it will prosecute ISIS detainees sent from Syria. So Iraq's Supreme Judicial Council said on Thursday it would begin legal proceedings against basically ISIS detainees transferred from Syria after the rapid collapse of Kurdish-led forces in northeast Syria triggered concerns over prison security. So we still have a period of unrest there, and we're going to read this as well in a second. The U.S. military said on Tuesday its forces had transferred 150 ISIS detainees from Syria to Iraq, and that the operation could eventually see up to 7,000 detainees moved out of Syria. So it's been a year now, and what does this tell us? This tells us the United States has still been there. We are helping to run the show. We are still doing this under the guise of fighting ISIS, and there's still conflict in the region. It's still very, very unstable, right? So a U.S. official told Reuters on Tuesday that about 200 low-level ISIS fighters escaped from Syria's Shadadi prison, although Syrian government forces had recaptured many of them. So this is kind of our news, what's going on now. The Supreme Judicial Council said Iraqi courts would take due legal measures against the detainees once they're handed over and placed in specialized correctional facilities. So let's look at what this all kind of came from, updated 4 hours ago. How Syria's Shara captured Kurdish-held areas while keeping the U.S. outside. And this is in Damascus. The Syrian government's rapid takeover of territory long held by the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, the SDF that we talked about. And remember, what did they say here? The U.S. military is allied with the SDF, right? So here we have the new Syrian government that emerged, right? That was in part from the previous government of a smaller regional area that was more religious and conservative, right? So they took over territory that had held basically by U.S. allies in the region. And this took shape, they said, in a string of high-stakes meetings in Damascus, Paris, and Iraq earlier this month, according to 9 sources. Oh, hydrate. I missed a hydrate, sorry. This article is current. We are now looking at articles from 4 hours ago and 27 minutes ago. So we wanted the little history of what happened a year ago, and now we're doing like a strobe light effect, what's going on today. And then we're going to fill in the blanks for what's happened in between here, and we're going to talk about how this is almost like a projection of what we can expect in Iran, is my guess. right? So we look at Syria and we say, okay, this is the U.S. playbook, and we're going to use what's happening today as almost a way to project what we can imagine the situation in Iran being like a year from now, what the situation in Libya ended up being like, and just kind of talk about how these efforts don't actually contribute anything positive or good or stabilizing for these regions. Yeah, America and Israel playing both sides, exactly. The accounts not previously reported and shared on condition of anonymity, but with 9 different sources, showed that the U.S. did not stand in the way of an operation that has radically altered Syria's balance of power at the expense of a one-time ally. We're going to open that as well. The meetings paved the way for Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara to score 2 major wins, advance his vow to unite all Syrian territory under one leadership, remember, because they have the different factions that have taken power now, and Syria's been all divided, and become the favored Syrian partner for the U.S. administration under President Donald Trump. His offensive effectively wiped out the autonomous zone that Kurdish authorities had hoped to maintain in Syria's northeast and tested the boundaries of Washington's support for Shara, who once led al-Qaeda's local affiliate. But the Syrian rebel-turned-president came out on top, with U.S. envoy Tom Barrack saying Washington could now partner with the Syrian state and had no interest in maintaining a separate role for the SDF. So the United States is now like, okay, SDF out. We're going in on the new government here. We're backing him. He wants to work with us. We want to work with him, right? And Shara, again, used to be the leader of al-Qaeda in the region. So we're like, bet al-Qaeda guy's us. Remember, George W. Bush, his whole campaign on the war on terror was wanting to defeat al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda was the most evil thing in the world. And now we're like, we'll team up with them to take over Syria. Awesome. So it's very deranged. Oh, your mom is in Iran right now. Oh, God, I hope she's safe. So, the U.S. had been a backer of the SDF since 2015, when the force was conceived to expel the ISIS group from the northeast region of Syria. The SDF later used that territory to establish an autonomous enclave with separate civilian and military institutions. But in late 2024, Shara's rebel forces ousted longtime ruler Bashar al-Assad and pledged to bring all of Syria under the new government's control, including the SDF-run areas. After months of talks in 2025, a year-end deadline for the SDF to integrate with Damascus passed with little progress. Remember, SDF was our old allies in the region. That's when momentum for an offensive began to build. I want a little drink right now. The U.S. is supporting the former head of a local al-Qaeda branch. Okay? It's different. It's not different. Wild. All right. On January 4th, a Damascus meeting between Syrian officials and the SDF on integration was abruptly shut down by a Syrian minister, according to 3 Kurdish officials. The following day, a Syrian delegation traveled to Paris for U.S. brokered talks with Israel on a security pact. Syrian officials have accused Israel of backing the SDF, and in Paris, they urged Israeli officials to stop encouraging Kurds to delay integrating. 2 Syrian sources briefed on the meeting said. Yeah, the USA said they went from right-wing extremists to reformed moderates. Oh, it's just wild. It's a joke when you start reading this stuff and following it over the period of years. It's just embarrassing at a certain point. So, while there, Syrian officials suggested a limited operation to recapture some SDF-held territory and received no objections. Another Syrian source briefed on the matter said. Syria's information and foreign ministries did not immediately respond to Reuters' questions about the Paris meeting. The U.S. State Department referred Reuters to a statement by Barrack issued on Tuesday that urged the SDF to integrate and said the U.S. had no interest in a long-term military presence in Syria. Having been present for the entirety of the trilateral meeting in Paris myself, Israel never condoned an attack by the Syrian army on the Syrian Kurds. Any claim that we did so is false, said Yashael Leiter, Israeli ambassador to the U.S. The Syrian government received a separate message from Turkey that Washington would approve an operation against the SDF if Kurdish civilians were protected, as Syrian officials said. So now we're like, SDF former allies, stand down, integrate with the al-Qaeda guy, or we're going to kill you. Sorry. And this is why Jeffrey Sachs says, yeah, it's hard being an enemy of the United States. It's harder being an ally of the United States. It's harder being a friend to the United States. Oh yeah, link to the article. Sorry. Let me make you guys a tiny URL since Virgo's not here. F6XV52S. Ahmad Seen says, I feel like the imperialists have played a blinder in the Middle East. They've caused so much conflict that for the average person, it's impossible to understand what's happening in the historical context. So we just have to shrug and accept that people making decisions probably know better than us. Yes. I use TinyURL because the setup I have to access the chat while I'm streaming doesn't allow me to copy and paste into it. So I have to type it, and it's really long URL. So this is easier to type. So sorry about that. I haven't figured it out yet. Still getting used to my little setup here, you know. So Turkey has repeatedly intervened in Syria against the SDF, accusing it of ties to the outlawed Kurdistan Workers' Party, which fought a decades-long insurgency in Turkey. The agreement in Paris gave the green light for this war, said Kurdish political official Hadiye Yousaf. For 2 weeks later, okay, we're talking now, Kurds say the U.S. betrayed them. 2 weeks later, the offensive was underway, and Washington began signaling to the SDF that it was retracting its long-standing support. A U.S. diplomat, one of the Syrian sources, and another Syrian interlocutor, I've never said that word out loud before. Interlocutor? Okay, that's a new one. I've never said that out loud. I've only read it. I'm so sorry. Briefed on the issue said, on January 17th, Barak met with SDF commander Mazloum Abdi in the Kurdistan region of Iraq and told him that U.S. interests lie with Shara, not the SDF, the three sources said, and an SDF official denied the account. Interlocutor. Ugh. Okay. All right. So, a U.S. military official and 2 Kurdish officials said the U.S. had given SDF assurances of protection if Shara's offensive harmed Kurdish civilians or destabilized detention centers holding ISIS detainees. As Syrian troops pushed past the zone they originally proposed to capture, the U.S. military urged them to halt their advances, and coalition aircraft fired warning flares over some flashpoint areas, but those actions fell short of Kurdish expectations. What the coalition forces and American officials are doing is not acceptable, said Yousaf, the Kurdish political official. Are you truly lacking in principles? Are you so willing to betray your allies? Yes, we are. Have you met us before? This is what the United States does. We have no allies. We just care about us. Asked about U.S. assurances, the State Department referred Reuters to Barak's statement on SDF integration. It's wild. Okay. So Sharon nearly overplayed his hand in the offensive's final stage. The U.S. source briefed on Washington's position, and 2 other U.S. sources familiar with its policy said his forces had swiftly recaptured Arab-majority provinces from the SDF and kept advancing. By January 19th, they were encircling the final Kurdish-held cities in Syria's northeast, despite a ceasefire announced the previous day. But the U.S. administration was angry that Syrian troops had ignored the truce and feared mass violence against Kurdish civilians, said 3 U.S. sources. 2 of the sources said U.S. lawmakers were considering reimposing sanctions on Syria if the fighting continued. A White House official told Reuters the U.S. was monitoring developments in Syria with grave concern and urged all parties to prioritize the protection of civilians across all minority groups. It's just wild. It's like you're monitoring the conditions for the destabilization you created a year ago when you and Israel were proudly taking credit for overthrowing al-Bashar, or, the government. It's like absolutely wild. Very, very fascinating. How do I read in my head if not pronouncing? Oh, I don't know. Sometimes I do, and I just invent my own way of saying things, and then that's a problem, but I don't always sound it out in my head as I go. Interlocutor. That feels right. Huh. Yeah, no, Kissinger was correct, and Sachs says that as well. Jeffrey Sachs says this as well. It's dangerous to be America's enemy, but to be America's friend is fatal. Yeah, and Jeffrey Sachs also says that. It feels dangerous, unsafe to not be our ally, but it's going to be worse if you're not our friend. Multiple political analysts familiar with the United States foreign policy intimately have said this. You do not want to be friends with the United States. In my head, I just go, new word, skip. Yeah, I kind of do that too. I'm like, intra, yeah, that thing. Okay, got it. So... Sharon nearly overplayed his hand in the offensive's final stage, the U.S. source briefed on Washington's position, and 2 other U.S. sources familiar with the policy said. His forces had swiftly recaptured Arab-majority provinces from the SDF and kept advancing. By January 19th, they were encircling the final Kurdish-held cities in Syria's northeast, despite a ceasefire announced the previous day. But the U.S. administration was angry that Syrian troops had ignored the truce and feared mass violence. Oh, we talked about this already. I'm so sorry I reread that. Sharon suddenly announced a new ceasefire on Tuesday. He said his troops would not proceed if the SDF proposed an integration plan by the end of the week. The 3 U.S. sources said Sharon's abrupt announcements had satisfied Washington, and he was now in the clear. Minutes later, Barak issued a statement. The original purpose of the SDF as a combat force against the Islamic State had largely expired, he said, and the greatest opportunity for Kurds was under Sharon's new government. Okay, so we were playing sides. We switched up. It's created chaos, and some prisoners broke out of a prison in the chaos, and we're sending them to Iraq. And Iraq is like, we got you, new bestie. We're going to help you prosecute those people. So things are shifting. And this is also a story from today as well that we can look at really fast about this. And it is basically saying Damascus brings more of Syria under its control as U.S. policy shifts. It's probably going to be a reiteration of the same kind of thing. The U.S. position, while the U.S. military built close ties with the SDF, Washington never backed its political goal of securing a high degree of autonomy for the Northeast. And remember, the Northeast region was where the what was? The oil. So this is actually a good expansion of our conversation about imperialism as well, because our interests in Syria are economic, right? They're not safety. It's not self-defense. It's quite literally economic interest. So what we are seeing is imperialism because we want access to oil. Right? That's it. And oil for economic reasons. And not even necessarily for the standard MCM kind of thing where money becomes the commodity of oil that we sell and then we make more money from it. It's because of the speculation you can get off of investing in oil. It's because of stock shares going up, right, in price because of oil acquisition. These kinds of things that are built into finance capital, right? So I think that's really interesting. Now, we might have time to do a domestic story as well, but I want to see if you guys have any other questions about Syria, any other things we can look up and discuss before we move on to a domestic news story. Is there anything? What do you guys think about this? Does anything not quite make sense? Is anything confusing? Or do we want to talk about how this plays into Israel in general? I mean, something I think is interesting personally is that is when people are like, oh, Palestine's a single issue. And when we tell them, no, it's all connected. It's not a single issue. This is such a great example of that, right? It's like, if Palestine's a single issue, then why are we in Iran today, right? Then why did we overthrow the government of Syria a year ago? Then why is our economy based on speculation over the prices of oil in all of the locations that were defending Palestine from Israel? These are all very obviously interconnected issues, and we know this, right? But people don't want to see that. They don't understand how interconnected it is. And that's why I always tell people, if you have one political position, it's U.S. out of everywhere, and that's fine. And that will get you on the right side of history most of the time. So I don't know, just a simple thing, maybe a way to talk to people, or to be like, these issues are all connected. We're doing what we're doing in Syria, in Iran, because they were allies against Israel. They were allied against Israel, and they had stuff we wanted. Rojava. Yeah, Rojava's not something we would probably talk about too much, but Rojava was like an anarchist project that basically fell to capitalism. That's kind of the basics of it. I don't really know a lot of places to learn. Maybe other people in the chat have some good info on Rojava. I don't have a lot of that. U.S. out of the U.S. Yeah, U.S. out of everywhere, including here. That's what I'm talking about. Get them out of here. So this is a comment from Lil Baby Beef. It all just shows the U.S. is willing to abandon any morals they have in the interest of crushing socialism and the expansion of Israel's influence in Zionism at large. Yes. And that's what we see too. The Syrian government, like, again, is it your ideal Marxist-Leninist government? Probably not. But it was socialist enough to be a threat to the United States. And that's what we see in Mexico, too. Like, is Claudia Sheinbaum like a Marxist-Leninist? No, probably not. But she's socialist enough that her policies have made Donald Trump say that Mexico needs to basically be on alert, right? Free California! Liberate us, Xi Jinping. Yeah, but I think that's what's important to know, right? The U.S. government doesn't care about the specifics of your ideology. If you're doing enough socialism that it threatens them, you can be 1% socialist, you can be 100% socialist. It makes no difference to them. They're coming in. So you might as well be 100% socialist, right? You might as well be 100% commie. Mexico annexed Texas. California too, why not? Yes. Okay, so we can take a second to look up a domestic story. Somebody was talking about this Trump agreement that they were interested in maybe taking a look at, the new peace board. We could talk about that. It's not domestic. I try to do domestic and foreign policy one and one on these because I feel like the foreign policy stuff can get a little like it's so much. So then I'm like, maybe like a little light, the girls are fighting here at home thing might be easier. Yeah, we can finally get our high-speed rail in California if Mexico annexes us. So maybe we can do the Trump peace board tomorrow if everybody's interested in it then. And maybe we can look up a domestic news source, a news story here, for us to take a look at today. Oh, okay, you guys are going to like this. Top federal prosecutors crushed by Epstein file workload. Right? You guys love Epstein file stuff. You love it. We can talk about that. In Spain, there was a high-speed accident. Is that true? Is that what you guys are talking about in Spain? Or in Mexico? Spain had a very, very tragic high-speed rail accident recently. Very sad. Yeah. 39 people died last time I looked. I know. I unfortunately love Spain. Oh, Bell, you're from there. Oh, okay. 43 now. Oh, so sad. It's so horrible. For privatization. It's the devil. The U.S. was doing imperialism because Epstein files? Okay, we got to get into this. I got to understand. This is how I got to be able to talk to libs, right? This is my lib speak. I need to learn about the Epstein files. I need to find a way to connect the Epstein files to full-blown radical Marxist-Leninist communism. So this is a hole in my knowledge, the Epstein files. What's wrong with Spain? They're just, here in the United States, in North America, Spain was like the massive colonizer oppressor of Mexico, of the indigenous people there, right? So it's just in bad taste. It's in bad taste to be a Californian and say you love Spain. I like current Spain, kind of. It's whatever. It's not. This is a flawed opinion. My love of Spain is flawed. It's highly controversial. My love of Spain. I unfortunately love Spain. I unfortunately enjoy modern day Spain. We do not support the Spain of the past, certainly. Politically, we have never supported Spain, right? Oh, yeah, see here, as an Afro-Caribbean, I hate Spain so much. Like, we hate, they're evil. They're the colonizer. They're the evil colonizer, And then I go, and then I'm like, oh, of course I love a cafe frio. Thank you. It's so sunny here and beautiful. Your trees just grow oranges. It's a very conflicted opinion I have about Spain. As a Peruvian, you hate Spain. All of Latin America hates Spain. You can't go around saying you love Spain and expect anybody to take you seriously. You have to, the only way to like Spain is with shame. It's like saying you like France. You can't just say you like France. Come on. You know what I mean? As a Mexican, you hate Spain. See? Ugh. I know it's bad. It's the most problematic thing about me. Basque is better. And I will say, I fuck with Bilbao the heaviest. Basque region gets a pass. Because they don't even want to be Spain. They don't even like Spain. They're like, we're not Spain, So this is what I mean. You can't just be like, yes, I love Spain and expect to not get shit for it. You need to get so much shit for that opinion. You know, you have to give people shit when they say that. Yeah, it's like you don't like the government, but you like the nature there. Yeah, exactly. Spain. Sorry. I unfortunately enjoy it there. It's very nice when you visit. I am so sorry. I like the siesta. It's great. I do need a nap in the middle of the day. Who knew? No, in Spain they hate Americans. They hate the British more than they hate us, I guess. They really hate the British. And when you see British people in Spain, you're like, oh, I get it bad. And then the Spanish go to Malta, and they are the British of Malta, basically. It's very, very fascinating. I don't know. I'm new to international travel. I only started traveling internationally in my 30s. And so it's like, oh, I'm like learning all who hates who the most. You hate all the colonizers. Yeah, it's evil. It's fucking evil. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Okay. You can like it. Passport to Paris made you want to go to Paris. Yeah, it's bad. White people in Europe, it's a twofold thing. Because on one hand, you're like, oh, it's kind of like I'm decolonizing. And on the other hand, you're like, I'm also, you can't enjoy the colonizers. You know what I mean? You can't enjoy the colonizers. What the fuck's up with that? So that's, you guys don't think about the problems that come with whiteness. Our struggle of not being able to admit that we enjoy Spain on vacation on the internet. So really, if you think about it, we suffer too. Just kidding. This is the true plight of whiteness, guys. You don't understand. Clip that. They got ops in the chat. No, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. We got clip chips in the chat. Alan Pendleton said that not being able to admit you like Spain makes them oppressed as a white person. Okay. All right. Let's get into actual news. We can make fun of me for enjoying Spain later. It's justified. All right, so we're getting into what's going on with the Epstein files. The federal prosecutors are mad they have to work a bunch. I think this is what this headline means. Even the most senior attorneys have been assigned to help review millions of documents. Okay, the rich have to work. They have to labor over the Epstein files. There's something ironic in here. There's something funny in here that I think is going to be amusing for us. I'm not exactly sure what angle, though. Spain-loving landlord? Fail. The premier federal prosecutor's office in the country is consumed by the task of reviewing files related to Jeffrey Epstein, according to 4 people familiar with the matter in internal memos obtained by Politico. Virtually every prosecutor in the Southern District of New York who isn't handling an imminent or ongoing trial, including some who are working on other major cases, has been tasked with helping to review more than 2 million files to redact information about Epstein's sex trafficking victims. Even the high-ranking executive staff and unit chiefs are poring over the documents, often working weekends. Prosecutors are being crushed by the work, said one person familiar with the matter, who, like others quoted in this article, was granted anonymity to discuss internal processes. And while people in the office hope the task will take no longer than a few more weeks, no one is really sure when it will be completed. Okay, so they're mad they have to work overtime for a couple of weeks. That's what they're mad at. And that the super rich high up attorneys are like, I have to work too? Is that what I'm learning here? To be fair, the horror of having to do redaction. Your first job was redacting for law courts and it was the most miserable thing. Okay. To be fair, yes. I just think it's an interesting angle on this story, you know? Like, Politico is like, yeah, they really are mad at overtime. I think it's very, very interesting. People don't want to work anymore. The scale of the review has raised questions about whether the task is stretching prosecutors too thin or pushing other work to the back burner in an office that regularly handles some of the country's most important white-collar terrorism and financial crimes cases. I mean, it's white-collar. It's like financial crimes. Like, yeah, of course, stick it to them. But this is one of them, right? It's all the same thing. Autistic Baddie says it sounds like they're trying to find an excuse not to have to release them after being legally required to. Maybe yes. That's interesting. Bell is correct. American expats, kids are gentrifying Spain. Poor people, immigrants suffering quite a lot. Yeah, that's also a thing about Spain right now. A lot of people are moving to Spain and Portugal, and locals are having a really hard time because Americans, we are rich compared to how the cost of living in Spain is very, very cheap, and in Portugal as well compared to Americans. So that is real what Bell is saying. So even though we're allowed to hate on Spain, the USA dollar to Spanish currency ratio is presenting problems in Americans being there. So just that is true. You know, a little bit of karma for sure. But yes, it is immigrants and the poor there, the workers who are suffering a lot in Spain as a result of that, unfortunately. What is cool about Spain, though, is that they have really good squatters' rights. So, especially in Barcelona, you see an empty apartment, you can just go take it and be like, that's my apartment now. And apparently it's really hard to kick you out of it, which is cool. I think that's interesting. And yeah, Spain did have a bunch of Airbnb protests and things like that as well. Most people going to Portugal are Brazilian. They say we're doing reverse colonialism to them. I mean, that's kind of funny, though. I mean, like, that's... I don't know if I'm mad at that. Yeah. The squatter rights thing is cool in Spain. That's something I really like about it there. So interesting. All right, anyway. So, even several of the prosecutors working on the narco-terrorism and drug trafficking case against deposed Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro, okay, the fake case, got it, perhaps the most prominent prosecution in the justice system at the moment, the fake thing, are also assigned to work on the Epstein documents, according to a person familiar with the matter. A real thing at least. Very interesting. Some prosecutors tasked with the Epstein review have weighed asking for extensions on deadlines in their other work, according to another person familiar with the matter. A spokesperson for the Manhattan U.S. Attorney's Office declined to comment. Justice Department officials have described the scope of the work in recent court filings, although the burden on the Manhattan office appears to be even more significant than some of these descriptions suggest. In a filing earlier this month, Jay Clayton, the top federal prosecutor in the office, told a federal judge that over 125 lawyers in the Southern District of New York, which employs about 200 assistant U.S. attorneys, were working on the effort. Many lawyers assigned to the task were expected to spend the next few weeks dedicating all or a substantial portion of their workday to reviewing and redacting files. In an update last week, he disclosed that more than 500 people across the Justice Department, including attorneys at the department's headquarters and in the Southern District of Florida, had been reviewing the files. The scope of the work in Manhattan stems, at least in part, from the fact that the office handled both the sex trafficking case against Epstein and the successful prosecution of his co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell. She is serving a 20-year prison sentence. The massive Epstein undertaking began several days before the December 19th deadline by which the government was legally obligated to begin disclosing the files. Carl Metzner, the office's associate U.S. attorney who supervises the Victim and Witness Unit and Privilege Review Team, suggested to prosecutors in a memo that the initial marching orders were unclear. This obviously raises a whole bunch of questions, which we don't have answers to at the moment. A follow-up memo from another official notified staff that we, as in every AUSA in the office, will soon be asked to take on redactions of discovery materials in connection with the Epstein files. Oh, hydrate. I gotta hydrate. Sorry. Oh, interesting. A mad scene in Spain. That's very, very interesting. Oh. Huh. Okay. Fascinating. All right. A third memo appears to have been sent the day before the deadline, and it read, "We expect to ask that each AUSA chiefs, deputy chiefs, executive staff included to complete a batch of approximately 75 documents to certify by the end of today. At bottom, we are being entrusted to protect victim information," it said. "While the timing of this review is challenging for many reasons, including that you are all very busy, this is an important task, and we owe it to the victims to do it right." Though the Justice Department released multiple tranches of Epstein material in late December, it hasn't published any additional documents since then. On December 31st, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche wrote that DOJ lawyers from Maine Justice, FBI, SDEL, and SDNY are working around the clock through the holidays, including Christmas and New Year's, to review documents in compliance with federal law. The effort, Blanche wrote, is truly an all-hands-on-deck approach, and we're asking as many lawyers as possible to commit their time to review the documents that remain. Required redactions to protect victims take time, but they will not stop these materials from being released. It's unclear, however, when additional material will be released, and Clayton's recent disclosures haven't provided any guidance on timing. The burden on prosecutors spilled into public view last week in one of the Manhattan office's highest profile cases. A defense attorney for one trio of wealthy jet-setting brothers facing trial this week for alleged sex trafficking conspiracy suggested the office's production of evidence to the defense has been delayed by the Epstein review. They have half of the U.S. Attorney's Office on the Epstein files. Tenny Garagos, an attorney for Orrin Alexander, explained. We have a trial starting next week, Your Honor. Do you guys know about the Alexander brothers case? I don't know about this. Oh, God, this article has really shown me the voices of victims are easy to miss. Those poor lawyers having to work on Christmas. Oh, Madeline alarm drink. I'll do it too. I'm out, though. The alarm keeps going off. Okay, let's take a look at this, actually. Since we're here, we have 30 minutes left-ish. Oh. Let's look at some trash sites. DOJ. Okay. We've got a lot of stuff going on. This is something. So it's these 3 brothers. 2 are twins. The first woman to publicly accuse high-profile twins Orrin and Alan Alexander of sexual assault was found dead in Australia last year, according to new reports. Kate Whiteman sued the men in March of 2024, alleging they were sexually assaulted her in the state of New York in 2012. Months later, they were arrested alongside their older brother and charged with sex trafficking offenses. I'll do a stretch too, yeah. An investigation into the death of Whiteman, 45, by the New South Wales Coroner Office has now concluded, finding her death was not suspicious. The Alexander brothers, who deny wrongdoing, have pled not guilty to criminal charges, will face trial at the end of this month. The coroner's office said they could not provide any further information about Whiteman's death out of consideration for bereaved family members. It is unclear what role, if any, Whiteman was due to play in the prosecution case. Very, very interesting. So, the older brother, Tal, and Orrin Alexander worked for real estate giant Douglas Elliman, listing properties for celebrities including Liam Gallagher, Lindsay Lohan, Kim Kardashian, and Kanye West. In 2022, they founded their own New York-based firm called Official. Alan worked at the family's private security firm, Kent Security. A day after Whiteman made her accusations, a second woman, Rebecca Mandel, also brought a lawsuit against Orrin and Alan, alleging that the pair drugged and assaulted her at a party in 2010. In the following months, a series of other women came forward to news publications with accusations of sexual assault against all 3 brothers. Many also claimed they were drugged. As of February 2025, the New York Times said at least 17 women had filed civil lawsuits against one or more of the brothers with accusations of assault in Miami, Manhattan, and even Moscow. All allegations have been denied by all 3 brothers. So this is the case that's getting held up by the Epstein files, Department of Justice. I am not a robot. And here's the actual indictment against these men. God, and this is what I mean. I'm just like, rich people doing rich people shit, man. They're always just doing rich, evil, rich people shit. Conspiracy to commit sex trafficking. Your boyfriend got attacked by Liam Gallagher once? They beat up his car? Oh my God. Really? Oh, Thursdays is the electronic intifada? Okay, we'll do that. That'll be good. Thank you. Thank you, Viscowich. I'm going to pin this so we don't forget. Interesting. Okay. Chairman Fork's still asleep. Yeah. It's a little late, actually. Huh. I should check on her. Okay, so the charge is that these brothers worked together and with other people to violently drug, sexually assault, and rape dozens of victims. Wow. At times, they arranged for these things to happen well in advance, using the promise of luxury experiences, travel, and accommodations to lure and entice women to locations where they were forcefully assaulted, sometimes by multiple men, including the brothers and others. Other times, they encountered their victims by chance. God, men are, and this is what I mean when I say like the Epstein files weren't surprising to me. I'm just like, rich people are just out of their minds. Like, they're just like, yeah, I can do whatever I want. I'm rich, right? So if people want forks, should I go get her? I'll go get her. Hold on. I'll put on the screensaver. This is heavy, so maybe we need a fork palate cleanser in here. Okay, I got her out of bed, but now she's outside going potty. So she'll be in a second. And I got a spoonful of peanut butter. Oh, Forky, come here. Hi. Good job. Come here. Come here. Hi. Come here. Oh, don't fall. Come on. Good girl. She thinks the peanut butter's for her. Come here. Yeah, that's my peanut butter, though. That's not yours. I know usually you get peanut butter in the morning. I know. I'm so sorry. That's mine, though. How can we deprogram people from individualism? I think that's a really interesting question. Hi. Hello. Because our society certainly does reward it. And it rewards antisocial behavior, too. This is my peanut butter, though. You can't have it. I know you want it real bad. If I feed it to her like this, then she's going to think she always gets it like this. It's mine. I'm sorry, it's mine. I'm so sorry. I know, I wanted it. I craved it. I have to get her some, don't I? I have to get her peanut butter. She's so cute. I know, she's so cute. She's like really happy right now. Look. Goofball. Doesn't she kind of look like Jar Jar Binks? Have you guys noticed that? Over here. Isn't she kind of Jar Jar Binks core? Like, right? First time chat. Fork. Okay, I teased her, so I have to go do it. So give me a second. I'll be right back. Sorry. Come on. Okay, we're back. Sorry. She's happy now. She hasn't been tortured. Liberate Fork from the oppressive neoliberal peanut butter policies. She's on austerity policies. I also got Oreos. I hope they're not on a ban list, though. I didn't check. Are Oreos safe or are they evil? I feel like they're evil. It's a major corporation, right? Is Nabisco boycott? Oh, no. It was an old one from AFL-CIO. Huh. California. Let's see. Okay, we got an AFL-CIO boycott. Well, I already bought them, so now I have to eat them. I was checking on... Nabisco is evil. It feels evil, right? I'm like, if it's a major corporation... See, here's the problem. Lately, I've been going to the corner store to get snacks throughout the day, and I don't usually do that. That's not how I usually eat. So I keep getting things that I never think to check, because I'm like, oh, I never drink a Coca-Cola. That was a few months ago. Somebody was like, Coca-Cola's on the boycott list. I was like, fuck, they are. I totally forgot about it. So I'm like not used to checking for this specific type of food. So I need to do better about it. So I just looked at I just Googled boycott list and they popped up on the AFLCIO.org boycott list. This one, look. Here. So big union busters. So no more Nabiscos. These are going to be my last Oreos. I'm going to have to get a hippie off-brand Oreos afterwards. You know? Yeah. Vegan. Simple pleasures. Was the wide availability of Oreos. You know, it's fine. So I don't encounter any Quakers, but I also live in Los Angeles. We don't have like a lot of that here. Yeah, somebody recently told me about the No Thanks app, and that was cool. Is AFL-CIO on board with the January 23rd strike? Are they? That would be wild, actually. That would be a little shocking. Yes. Wow. Oh, finish your thoughts on a post-individualist society. Yes, we can. Just for Minneapolis. They're doing it in Minneapolis. Okay, got it. Yeah, so, okay, we have some options right now, guys. What do we want to do? Do we want to read through these creepy man, Epstein Jr., and what's going on with them? Do we want to talk about what's going on in Minneapolis, or do we want to opine about individualism and the revolution and kind of general social issues? Any thoughts? Any votes? I'm not going to do a full poll. Minneapolis. Please no essay talk. That's fair. That's what I was kind of like, this is getting heavy. I don't know if I want to get into this too much. Minneapolis. Okay, everybody looks like we want to talk about Minneapolis. So let's talk about what's going on there. That sounds good. All right. Okay, so Minneapolis Regional Labor Federation endorsed a measure encouraging union members to participate in a January 23rd Day of Truth and Freedom. Many labor groups, including some unions, called on union members not to work, buy anything, or show up to school on January 23rd. In response to ICE's continued operations and raids in Minneapolis on Friday. Oh, that's not a sentence. Okay, this is paydayreport.com is not writing sentences. All right. The endorsement came as Trump announced the National Guard could deploy to the Twin Cities to quell protests. Trump has since alerted 1,500 soldiers, the 11th Airborne Division, and advised them they may need to deploy. And Minneapolis obviously has become a fierce battleground since an ICE agent murdered Renee Good. So the union said the Minneapolis Regional Labor Federation, AFL-CIO, along with regional bodies throughout the state, including St. Paul's Regional Labor Federation, the West Area Labor Council, and Northeast Area Labor Council, and the East Central Labor Council, have joined in solidarity to endorse a powerful, unified statewide action on January 23rd, a day of truth and freedom. Matt Cena is making a good case to abolish the sentence in the chat right now. So basically, the president of the Minneapolis Regional Labor Federation said the action is necessary to get business leaders to break their silence about immigration. I mean, I think this is true. I think general strikes are a very, very effective tool that the United States, frankly, has not been using enough of. Right? One guy that does Payday Report. So yeah, very, very interesting. What else do we have in news from Minneapolis going on? Just in general. I'm surprised more Americans don't call for general strikes. I think that is the way to get things done. More than that, encouraging people to instead shop at businesses that are vocal about not supporting ICE would probably encourage those companies to release statements really fast condemning ICE. Right? Like, that's what you have power of spending. So, yeah. All right. Vance is telling Minneapolis to stop fighting ICE as the White House doubles down on the crackdown. Federal agents are shooting pepper balls at protesters. I mean, it's pretty... Ugh, God, I don't want to look at that. That's so upsetting. Ugh, everything's horrible. And then ICE detained a 5-year-old? Did you see this? In Minneapolis 50 minutes ago? We're getting updates on this. A 5-year-old boy wearing a Spider-Man backpack. Oh, I did see this. Did you guys see this? I saw this earlier. Yes. And an oversized hat was detained with his father by immigration authorities on Tuesday, one of 4 students who have been apprehended in a suburban Minneapolis school district during the past 2 weeks. The pre-kindergarten. Yeah. So fucking sad. Why detain a 5-year-old? The superintendent of schools in Columbia Heights asked at a news conference about the episode on Wednesday. Exactly what happened is still under dispute. The boy and his father were taken to Dilley, Texas, outside of San Antonio, where they were being held in an immigration detention center, according to Mark Prokosh, a lawyer working with the family. Bye. Thanks for sticking around. They're demons. They're demonic individuals. Like, and I know a lot of people have been talking about this, but how This is imperial boomerang theory, like at work, right? This is what we say it was okay to do in Palestine, to do in Iraq, to do in Afghanistan, to do in Libya, to do to all these other countries. We ultimately are showing we won't fight back too much when they do it here at home, right? And it's very chilling. And this is the kind of stuff, you know, that we've been doing obviously all over the globe. Like some of the most heartbreaking photos I've ever seen in my life are a father and his son hiding out in Palestine from Israeli soldiers, and it's them like pleading for their lives, and then the dad getting shot, and the next photo is the dad dead and the little kid hiding under him. And like this stuff, like we don't respect sanctity of life, we don't respect childhood, we don't respect children, we have no appreciation for life. Like, and it is part of it is dehumanization. You have to dehumanize the other so much that like when people look at this, they do not see a child, right? And that's what it is. They are not seeing a child, and that's pure racism. That's white supremacy that gets people to look at this and not see a child. And it's just really, really, really alarming. Okay, mad scene. You know, I don't generally like Amnesty International. Did I read the report of their treatment of detainees in the federally run immigration centers? No, I have not read that yet. I'll take a look at it. It is very... Hold on. I think Fork just did something bad. Is it this one that you guys are looking at? The alligator act... This one? Yeah, exactly, Bisco Witch. Yes. Fork cannot do that. You do not know that little dog. No, I've never heard of this Child of the Reach. Gay uncle hypothesis. What is that about? That's interesting. The full report's linked to this page. Oh, here's the report. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. All right. Yeah. This is okay. I'll keep that up. So yeah, this is just like heartbreaking though. It's really. But the people who do this, they do not see this as a human. They do not see this as a child. They have children. They don't see this as their child. You know, they see it as a separate thing. Very, very, very wild. A 10-year-old girl was apprehended on her way to school with her mother. There's actually a woman right now, I think she's from Norway, who's making videos on TikTok about her getting deported from the United States. And she's like a white blonde woman doing like TikTok dance trends about her deportation, which I think is interesting. I really do think that a lot of also white immigrants did not think that this would affect them as well because of the racism, and I think they're shocked to find that it's like a spillover effect that is affecting them as well. Yeah, it's very, very fascinating. So it's a 61-page report from Amnesty. We probably don't have time to get into all of it today, but it is interesting. We've got basically 10 minutes left. What do you guys want to have a little discussion with the final 10 minutes while I eat my forbidden Oreos that we will never get again? Because the labor gods tell me they're evil. Media is over-reporting on the effects of ICE. Yes, that's true, against white people. Okay, Child of the Reach. Okay. We've got gay propaganda. I like it. Fraternal birth order effect is a biological phenomenon showing that each older brother a man has increases the probability of him being gay. The gay uncle hypothesis posits that people who themselves do not have children may nonetheless increase the prevalence of their family's genes in future generations by providing resources to the offspring of their closest relatives. Interesting. Okay, that's pretty fascinating. 3 minutes of typing ASMR. Polycommerce redistribute your partners. Which one of mine do you want? You got non-binary raver who makes coffee. And then you got non-binary bartender. What does non-binary bartender do? Non-binary bartender just does the bartending mostly. Very wholesome, very sweet. You have Sweetie Pie, non-binary bartender in New York, or you get feisty coffee making raver. Those are your options. You take them both? I'll let them know. Wholesome. Bell gets wholesome partner. Wholesome partner's very wholesome. Tori, that's partner. Yeah, they're really nerdy about alcohol too. Oh, wow. Suggest the mother has essentially an ally rather than another son, introducing more male infighting. Interesting. So for me, it's 10:53 a.m., which means I gotta be off in 7 minutes. So that's why I'm like, well, we're kind of winding down, you know. I think it is probably good for me to have the 3 things prepared for us to do, like local, foreign policy, and then a little bit of theory to talk about, just in case. But then maybe we just don't get through all of them, you know. Bye, comrade. Bell. Oh, Fork is in there whining to be let back on the bed. Well, maybe we just wrap it a few minutes early. Maybe we do a raid for the Electrona Intifada. Yes. Yeah. Maybe it's time. Maybe we had an early one. We did it all. We live streamed everything there was to stream about today, guys. We got to do my volunteer work now. Tomorrow we'll go through the local, foreign policy, and a theory thing, just in case. Yes. Okay, let's raid. What do we want to do? Who do we want to do? We have 67 currently. It was a low one. That's not very many. We lost some people today. Uh-oh. A low stream. Okay. All right, I'm doing it. I think it's going to work. Yes? Oh, it says we have way more than 67. 162. Oh, yeah. Okay. Not actually 6'7". Ah, I got trolled by the 6'7" crowd. Fair. Okay. We're ready. Rating now.